On this episode of Viewpoint, the Brian Heeraman podcast, it's all about the elephants, and there are elephants everywhere. Elephants between the former Chief Magistrate and the Chief Justice. There's another elephant from the State Department of the United States. There are elephants from the nutrient plant closure. Elephants in La Hakata, but these are invisible elephants. And then there are elephants who are making us all bright with LED light bulbs. Episode 13, Viewpoint, the Brian Human Podcast. Welcome back, everyone. Old listeners, new listeners. I hope everyone is continuing to listen to not just this episode, but all previous episodes as well, and continuing to share the podcast with your friends, your family members. A good way of thinking about the podcast is as a source of opinionated news, that being my opinion. And I think what it does is it gets you into thinking about what your opinion is about what we're discussing, about the topics that we're discussing, and to have your brain clicking as to what you think about it. So it's a good opportunity to get your mind and perspective with national topics so you'll have your opinion as well. And I hope I'm able to influence you guys out there as to come around to seeing things the way how I see it. So remember, this podcast is also available on all the major podcasting platforms. That is to say, iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and also Twitter as well. So continue to like and subscribe. That way you get notified as to when the news episode is released. So how's everyone been going for this last week? I mean, this heat stroke has not the heat stroke, the heat wave that is. Well, it could lead to heat stroke. I mean, that is just to show you how hot it has been. And it doesn't seem to be letting up for any considerable period of time. I mean, you get a shower of rain and then right back, and the heat continues on into the night as well. I mean, air conditioning is definitely on my priority list for the rest of the areas because this heat is unbearable. My dog, for example, he basically spends most of his time in the pool. We definitely have to keep him damp, and it's a real task. This is a huge dog to keep him damp. I don't know. Um, when he's hot, he definitely lets you know because he is not in a good mood when he's not comfortable with his, and he's not comfortable with his seat. So he's definitely not in a good mood when he's too hot. So let me know how you guys deal with the seat. I mean, I don't know. So much for all those talk about climate change again. Oh my God. So let's dive right into what's going on. There's so much happening for this last week. Some of the topics they become so boring to me because we have spoken about them time and time again. So I'm looking for new content, and I'm pretty happy with this new content with regards to what's going on between the Chief Justice and his former Chief Magistrate, Marcia Ayers Caesar. What's going on with them? I don't know if you all know about what's whole transpiring, but the trial took place on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of last week. But this is a whole matter that started sometime back in 2017. When the chief magistrate, that is Master Eric Caesar, was forced to. Sorry, I saying forced to resign. That's an opinionated statement, given that the whole trial is just recently finished and the judge has not made his ruling yet. But this whole thing began when Marcia A. Caesars, who's a legend, she was forced to resign by Chief Justice, the President, and the Judicial and Legal Service Commission, that is the JLSC. I've been following this matter since 2017, and I've read her affidavit from 2017. Why I want to talk about this particular case for is because of how personal this is to the former Chief Magistrate and the Chief Justice as well. When you read this woman's article, this woman's affidavit, the Chief Magistrate or the former Chief Magistrate affidavit, you would see how this whole matter has affected her personally. People out there believe it how they have some worries, and those people in high office, whether it be the Chief Justice or the former Chief Magistrate, they have their own worries, which is another reflection upon what they are worrying about. At the end of the day, folks, worries is worries. Whether you have worries with regards to a car, if it is a Mazda car or whatever it is, then they have worries to a car. It's the same thing. The only difference is that their worries is to a Range Rover and your worries is to a Mazda car. Same amount of worries, same amount of stress, just different different size of the stress. I mean, not different, but you put the stress in perspective in the sense that her the person with the Range Rover stress is just in terms of a bigger debt as compared to your Mazda, which is to you is a big debt as well. It's just a different context on the debt. But back to Marcia Iracisa, why it's so what's going on with this. I've read this woman affidavit from 2017, and I want to bring out the point that is so personal to her. But I'm not sure if you all know, but Marcia Iracisa's salary as it relates to when she was the chief magistrate, she used to get like around $32,700. That's a base salary. Plus, she would get a housing allowance of just over 7,000 and a transportation allowance of over 4,000. When she was appointed a judge, in when it was in April of 2017. Yeah, she was appointed a judge. Her salary increased to $37,000. Her transportation allowance increased to $4,500, and the housing allowance got a big bump to $24,000. So the personal aspect of this is that we're talking about a lot of money here that she's missing out on when she was allegedly forced to resign, according to her. What she said in her affidavit is what strikes me as being, it was so touching because one could sometimes relate to some people pain in their statements and in her affidavit in this case, and I have no. It's not as though I'm on her side per se, because that is still before the judge and then the matter before Justice Harris. But nonetheless, what she said in her affidavit in 2017 has always been on my mind. What she said in her affidavit in 2017, because you can relate to these things at some point in time. And what she said, after she was forced to resign, her life changed. She was shunned by her family, her friends, and her former colleagues. And as a result of all of this embarrassment that she's facing, she doesn't go out in public spaces no more. I mean, this is a woman who had a reputation to be chief magistrate in Port of Spain. Obviously, what happened to her when she resigned from her position as judge, it impacted her social life. She went on to say in her affidavit that she did not want to take the Judicial and Legal Service Commissions to court because of the implication that it would have led to, but she needed an opportunity to clear her name from all the wrongdoing that has been alleged against her. What did she went on to say? She went on to say that her life upon resigning as a judge became in shambles. She said she has and continued to suffer extraordinary distress. I'm quoting from affidavit here, by the way, sorry. Anxiety and embarrassment because of the unlawful and unconstitutional actions of the Chief Justice, the JLSC, and the President, and my professional career is in shambles after serving 25 years as a magistrate and being elevated to become a High Court judge of the Supreme Court. I am forced to stay home. This woman, this former chief magistrate, is accusing the president of Trinidad and Tobago, well, the president back then anyway, of Trinidad and Tobago, the chief justice, the highest judge in Trinidad and Tobago, and the Judicial and Legal Service Commission. That's the commission that appoints judges, of which the chief justice is chair of that commission. She's accusing them of making her life in shambles. And when you read what she said in the trial, and I'll try and summarize it for you in a while, she's accusing them of forcing her to resign. And why is she saying her life is in shambles? I don't know if you all know about this, but there's a particular section. What is this section? Section 54.1 of the third schedule of the Code of Ethics of the Legal Professions Act, which states that a person who previously held a substantive appointment as a judge of the Supreme Court shall not appear as an attorney of law in any of the courts in Trinidad and Tobago for a period of 10 years, commencing on the date of his or her retirement, resignation, or termination of such an appointment. What it basically means, from the day she resigned from being a judge in 2017, she can no longer practice her profession as being an attorney in any court. Her bread and butter, the manner in which she used to provide for her family, she can't use it anymore for a period of 10 years. So basically, she cannot be employed as a legal professional until 2027. That is what it basically means. And it is crazy. She said she feels disrespected by members of the public. I've been called names wherever I am seen in public such as a supermarket. I am shunned. That's basically what she's saying. And I mean, is the manner in which the words in which she brings it across. You could feel her pain that's going on in her. One can only imagine what she actually feels in reality. But that's what she said in 2017. Remember, she was forced to, well, she's allegedly said she's forced to resign after it became known that when she was appointed a judge, the 22 matters that she left became, well, it was actually 52 matters, but she's saying that her staff told her it was 22 matters and not 52. Became the reality. So in her testimony, and she testified on Monday, the Chief Justice testified on the Tuesday. But I want you to remember that this is the same Chief Justice who testified, who went all the way to the Privy Council to prevent the judge or to prevent from being allowed to testify in this same matter. More on the Chief Justice in a while. We still have to cover what the Chief Magistrate said in her when she was being cross-examined by her attorney is Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj. She has a pretty good attorney. So what she's basically saying, she said she wasn't when she got to the Hall of Justice. The instructions to her was clear. Sign the resignation letter. She said it was a helpless state. She said it was a done deal. That's what she's basically saying that her entire that her entire resignation was orchestrated. Let me use her words. It was clear to me that my resignation had already been orchestrated and that this was a done deal. And here what she's saying afterwards, it was orchestrated by the Chief Justice, the President, and the Judicial and Legal Service Commission. That is what she's saying. She's accusing these high office holders of orchestrating her resignation as a judge in the High Court. I mean, can you imagine this squabbling that's taking place in these high offices? Nobody can imagine this. Not even if you put this to me back then, but I even think about this. Hear what all she went on. She said, I was threatened and told I had to resign or else the president would be advised to revoke my appointment. That is her actual words I'm quoting. She's denying that she chose to resign because she was embarrassed and that she was embarrassed that the numbers had changed and she was being accused of being selfish. Former Chief Magistrate Master A. Caesars is accusing the highest office holders in the land, in terms of the judicial aspect of it, of orchestrating her resignation. In a response to a question by the Chief Justice Attorney, if her position was that the Chief Justice was a liar and had lied in his affidavit, A. Caesar said on more than one occasion that the Chief Justice's account was not an accurate account. I mean, how pretty you put the words. I don't know how in other situations or other how you bring those words together. Some people say less than candid. If you watch the Robert Mueller investigation in the United States, they make accusations that certain individuals, FBI officials, was less than candid in their testimony. In layman terms, you lie. That's what she's basically saying. She's basically saying that she's accusing the Chief Justice as being a liar. She just does not bring it across like that. But that's basically what she's saying. That's how you interpret those words. That's how the judge is going to interpret those words. But now the Chief Justice version of the event that is taking place. Now remember, he was forced to testify after he went to the Privy Council and he lost the matter and they told him that he basically had to testify. And there's no reason why he shouldn't give evidence, right? He denied putting pressure on her to resign and admitted to telling her his personal view that he saw her position becoming untenable and that the seriousness of what she had done had the effect of misleading not just the Judicial and Legal Service Commission, which he leads, and which he recommended her elevation, but also the president who made the appointment. He's basically saying that she never told him it was 52 cases or how many other cases. The number that she gave him was less, and the seriousness of the cases was to the point whereby any other magistrate could have handled it. So he basically saying she misrepresented what she had told him, and that's why he appointed her, and that's why he recommended her, and the president elevated her to the appointment. Now, remember, at the end of the day, these are two senior people talking here in terms of their legal profession. How much of the law they know? I should say they should learn a great amount of the law. And what he is saying to her is that he did no background check. He relied on the information provided to him by her to appoint a judge to the High Court of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. This is not funny. This is the appointment of people to high office that give rulings that you must comply by, and the Chief Justice is not doing any homework whatsoever. He just say, whatever you tell me, yeah, I agree with that. What he's basically saying with that led to this whole position and this whole lawsuit and all by her is that he's saying if the list that she provided with regards to the numbers was actually 22 or not 52, the claimant would not have been in this position today. It was not just the number, but the complexity of the cases and the main parts being extensive cross-examination. That is what he's saying. He's saying that basically it's her fault that she's in this position today. That's primarily, it seems to be his defense with regards to the whole events leading up. This judge, Justice Harris, is going to have a hard time with this case. Good luck to you. But I want to be completely factual in terms of I want to give you guys a history of incidents leading up with this Chief Justice. This is the same Chief Justice who the Law Association had a vote of no confidence in, who they got two Queen's Counsel to issue letters advising the Prime Minister to look into removing the Chief Justice. And the removal of the Chief Justice is by invoking Section 137 of the Constitution. That is, the Prime Minister will advise the President to initiate Section 137, have a special tribunal appointed, and will investigate the Chief Justice. If he's found to be negligent or whatever, then they will remove him. That's the only way to remove the Chief Justice in Trinidad and Tobago. But this is the same the Prime Minister decided after receiving those letters that he would get his own opinion. Folks, if you're out there and you know what lawyers, if you pay a lawyer enough money, he'll tell you this sky is green. Okay, that's just how it is. Their interpretations. He'd find some way to prove to say that how the sky to him is green. So whatever. You can get a legal opinion to say whatever you wanted to say. But the Prime Minister decided how he's not going to invoke Section 137 based on the legal opinion that he would have gotten. What is scary about this entire thing is that if the Prime Minister decides that he's not going to invoke Section 137, and he has this whole Section 137 hanging over the Chief Justice's head, because by not invoking it, is it that you can invoke it at some point in time later when new facts come to the table? And what is the effect of not invoking Section 137 on the Chief Justice as it relates to him continuing on the bench? Is he going to always rule in favor because of fear that he might be called upon to face Section 137? You see, in my mind, the only way for the Chief Justice to operate independently was to have Section 137 invoked. Let the cards fall where they are. And that way, he would have nothing to worry about because the facts would have come out there and everyone would have known what happened. But the mere fact that he's having the Prime Minister holding what is this Section 137 above his head, how can he then therefore operate independently? In my mind, I'm thinking that every government case goes towards him. He's going to have to rule a certain way, otherwise they're going to activate Section 137 against him. Remember, the Chief Justice gets to allocate judges to the Court of Appeal as well. So it's crazy. It's crazy that the level of squabbling that take place in these high offices. When you think that how things are going smooth, they are far from smooth. It's beyond what you can even believe that's taken place. The Chief Justice, whether it be the former magistrate, the former Chief Magistrate, it's crazy what's going on out there. I hope that when this judge finally makes his ruling with regards to this whole master season on the Chief Justice, if it does go down against the Chief Justice, it will be another unwanted feather. And then what? And then what? If the judge rules against this Chief Justice, it's basically saying that how he lied. He forced this woman to resign. Those are not the kind of accusations. Well, there won't be accusations anymore because it would have been a ruling. Those are not the kind of things that you want against your Chief Justice. And then what? It's going to be a next whole bunch of mess. But I figure it's not going to end there. I figure it's going to go to the Court of Appeal and then go to the Privy Council because these are elephants walking, folks. And when elephants are walking, cockroaches need to stay away. And as we're talking about elephants, let's continue. Did you guys read the report from the State Department on the 2020 investment climate statement of Trinidad and Tobago? They basically said that Trinidad and Tobago GDP is 23.9 billion, but they predict, well, the International Monetary Fund that is predicts that it's going to fall by some 4.5% this year due to the collapse in energy prices and COVID-19. And speaking about COVID-19, the numbers are not letting up, but we get onto that later on. But dear Senator, most investment barriers have been eliminated in Trinidad and Tobago, so that's a good thing. However, they also went on to explain a whole bunch of negative things affecting Trinidad and Tobago investment climate. And they started with the foreign exchange shortages, the widespread perception of corruption among public officials, lack of transparency in public procurement, complicated government bureaucracy, crime, lack of enforcement of contracts. I mean, reading this report here, you would think that Trinidad and Tobago has significant problems beyond which is being made brought to our awareness. But the report goes on to say the decision-making process for tenders and the subsequent award of contract becomes non-transparent without warning. So that's like they issue a contract, they're about to issue a contract, and in the blink of an eye, they just change the entire process of the contract. It's crazy. They said while healing Trinidad and Tobago judicial system as somewhat competent, fair, and reliable, it takes some 1,340 days to resolve a contract claim, which is double the Latin American and the Caribbean average. I always knew it takes long in the courts, but wow, that long? That is insane. The report also went on to say that, well, something which I guess we all know, that the Trinidad and Tobago dollar is overvalued by the government. Remember the time when CPEP was apparently paying their corporate secretary and the chairman, I believe it was, funds that weren't approved by the board. Well, they said it wasn't approved by the board, and they alluded to the fact that it was an accounting error. Well, this report on Trinidad and Tobago from the Elephant, the United States State Department, is saying that the laws do not extend to family members or of officials or to political parties. That's a huge statement to make. I don't think I like that statement. It's basically saying that once you're affiliated to the ruling political party, then the laws don't apply to you. Not quite sure how true that is. Maybe to some extent, but I don't know. That's pretty heavy a statement to be made, and I'm shocked the government hasn't come out and tried to defend that state, try to you know defend themselves because that's basically tarnishing not just the political party or the government, but the entire Trinidad and Tobago. But like I said, elephants on the prowl, and need to take a backseat. So our next elephant playing off right now these last few days, and I'm sure you guys would have seen this one, is the DSS Susu. And well, the DSS, and I guess it's the drug Susu, is the terminology for it. But in the drug susu, there are elephants as well, and there are invisible elephants. Yep, you're not supposed to see them. They break down the door of the room where the cash is stored, and the elephant entered. No one saw him. No one saw him, and he grabs two bundle of cash. He sticks it inside of him in one of his chests and wherever he stuck another one, and no one saw it. But it so happened that there are video cameras, and now everyone is wondering, who is this elephant? Who is in charge of this elephant? Well, the commissioner of police denies that he is in charge of this elephant. He doesn't know anything about this elephant. This elephant is a member of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, he said, who is just working with them and is not a police officer. I mean, it gets funny. It's when you look at what's going on, and this is why people don't trust police officers, or they said how police officers plant things on them or they take things from them. It's because of plain to see things like what is happening with this whole Larkota DSS situation going on here. You already placed without a warrant, and as I recall, it was Justice Rani Buru Singh who, in was it in 2019, when the Caribbean Broadcasting here took the state to court for a raid that they made on their premises without producing a warrant. And Justice Rani Buru Singh said that he wanted the laws to be amended and changed to allow for private citizens to be shown a copy of the warrant before the warrant is executed. Another case with the DSS, you enter these premises without a warrant. I remember hearing the girl asking for the warrant through the video, and no warrant was produced. This is the next matter is going to go to court at some point in time, and you know what's going to happen? They're going to win because of bad procedure, bad policies, bad actions taken by the police service, and the taxpayers is the one who's going to have to foot the bill for this, because at the end of the day, they don't sue the individuals in the police service, and I think we need to come to the point where you know officers who are operating in manners that are not in keeping with the protocols of the police service or whatever division, department, ministry that you're involved in, you should be able to, you need to bear the brunt of your actions by yourself. The taxpayer shouldn't have to pay for you. You shouldn't take the entire police service to court, the commissioner of police to court, the attorney general, and then when you ruling is handed down, the taxpayers have to pay because of your negligence, because of your corrupt activities. This man, this elephant who grabbed all this cash in the room, we don't know who he is, but we do know who the lawsuit is going to come to. The most that might happen to him, if they identify him or if they ever release his name, and you know how they tend to be with their own, he might just lose his job. That's about it. Nothing else. While the taxpayers are going to have to fund a bill, I don't know how much they're going to say they lose. They might, even if it is that they lose $2,000, they will claim for $20,000 because there's no way to justify otherwise. And the guy did grab a stack of cash from what it looks like, with some next guy by the door watching man and film. These elephants, they're supposed to be invisible, but they're not. And I fail to understand why police service doesn't understand that there are cameras in terms of your phone all over. So why would there not be cameras in a room with all that cash? Why would you risk your job, your character, your integrity? I don't know how much money you grab there, but if they really identify you, you're going to lose your job over what? What's the most I could grab in that stash? I don't know how much I could grab, but I don't understand why you would even do something like that. But it so happened that camera was there, and a bad situation with regards to a raid and with regards to the money being seized and given back has just become worse with this video of this officer grabbing cash for his own personal use. I don't know. All these investigations, it's not painting the police service in any good way. And the guy of this commissioner of police being in the news more than the prime minister is even worse. I don't know why he just don't recognize that how he has a job to do and do your job and move on. Stop these petty swabbling over social media with people who are embarrassed, causing you more embarrassment. I think When somebody responds to you after you make a statement with a yawn, I mean, come on, that is embarrassing. Is that what you want your time to be occupied doing, responding to a yawn? I don't know. But we continue. We continue with the elephants because that is what our main objective is today. We're dealing with all the elephants. So the another elephant in the room is a bright elephant. We're gonna end on a bright note with a bright elephant. With the 400,000 people to get light bulbs. They're going to be the smartest and the brightest elephants ever because they're going to get a light bulb. The government has decided finally to spend $8.8 million to give out light bulbs to everyone. 4 LED light bulbs you're going to get for everyone because you know what? We want you to burn less power and to save money on your bill. Like if you didn't know that LED was the way to go, like if you didn't have LEDs in your house at this point in time, $8.8 million. You know what? Because the guy who came up with this brilliant idea, this the Minister of Finance, if it was him, that elephant is a super elephant. He doesn't think that how there's more pressing matters, bigger priorities. Like, maybe we could take that $8.8 million and buy laptops for children who don't have it so that they could continue doing online schooling. No, we couldn't do that. The elephant decide that we're gonna buy LED light bulbs for everybody. And that way everybody's gonna be bright. Yep, that's what it's going to be. Trinidad and Tobago is a land that does not have its priorities straight in any form or fashion. But we are ruled by elephants, and we should take pride in that because the elephants knows best. Viewpoint, the Brian Heeraman podcast. See you next on episode number 14.